US-271. Alright. US-271 is a great road. It's very underrated. It goes through some pretty nice scenery along the way. It goes through Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, 3 states where I have lived in all three. So that, I think, is a good place to start for this series. This is a new series where I look at certain roads in the United States and see what their signs are and just see some cool stuff along the way. This route goes from Tyler, Texas to Fort Smith, Arkansas. And I would like to shout out Control City Freak, the Derp Hog, Geography Made Simple, the Xavier 456, Extreme Geography, and Quartermatch 437. All 6 of these guys make great content, and any others that I forgot to mention, I will also link in the description, as well as these guys. So I thank you all for inspiring me to do this, and hope we can make good quality road content together. Alrighty, so first let's take a look at 271 northbound. So here we are in Tyler. We are intersecting State Highway 31. And yeah, this is a very odd start to the route. There's not really much fanfare. We see a 271 shield over towards the right, but that is for State Highway 31. It's saying at 271 to turn left at the stoplight coming in from the left. But since this is State Highway 155, we are going to be concurrent with 271 right past the stoplight, and that will be the beginning of the route. You can see downtown Tyler over here towards the left. So yeah, let's continue on. So we see the first 271 shield while we're actually on the route next to this auto zone. I really couldn't find mileage signs in the city itself, and yeah, if you're gonna want to see mileage signs, you're gonna be a little disappointed on this road because yeah, we're not gonna see any for a while. But here we are meeting I-20. We see I-20's control cities here, west for Dallas and east for Longview. Dallas definitely works. Longview, I mean, it's okay, there are changes, but it's kind of weird that the primary is for one route and the secondary is for another. I wonder why that would be. So I looked at 20 East to see what our control city would be after Tyler, and it is Gladewater. I think that's a good choice because, it's the first somewhat sizable town we hit, and there's not really much else you can sign because there's faster routes to the other places. So here we are in downtown Gladewater. We are intersecting US 80. US 80 is signed west for Big Sandy, and US 80 East is signed for Longview. Longview, I think, works for US 80. Big Sandy, I'll have to get to US 80 to see if that's a good one, but I think so far that's okay. And then at this intersection in Gladewater, we are now signed for Gilmer. It's probably the next sensible choice. So here we are in Gilmer. Like I said, mileage signs are very rare on this road, at least for now. We joined with State Highway 155 earlier, and it will now split off in Gilmer to go right. Roughly around the stoplight is where it will leave. It really should be signed for Texarkana, maybe, because that's the fastest way there. But we don't have a sign for it. We just have the State Highway sign and no control cities. So I skipped that to Pittsburgh because I figured that would probably be the next choice, since it's another somewhat sizable town. It's about the size of Gilmore, about 4,000 people or so. So I imagine this is probably what would have been signed from Gilmer if there was one. I mean, there could be signs in between there, but they were extremely hard to look for, so there we go. But This is State Highway 11 intersecting, and still no control cities given, but I imagine this is probably what would have been signed. So on our way to Mount Pleasant, again, no signs for it, but we do see US-271 business for Mount Pleasant, exit right, and then 271 itself will bypass the town. So our next major intersection is for US-67. It is signed for Winfield and Omaha. Winfield, I think it should be signed for Mount Vernon or maybe Sulphur Springs. And then Omaha, I mean, Omaha I guess is okay just because there's not really much like else you can sign. I mean, Texarkana, I mean, you're better off staying on 30, so I guess Omaha works here. So right before we meet 30, we actually do get a mileage sign. It seems like mileage signs are very like uncommon on this road south of 30, so that's going to be a little weird to deal with, especially going southbound. But here we're going to start seeing more mileage signs. So here we have Talco and Paris signed. Paris is definitely the right choice for here. And then here is I-30. I-30 is signed west for Dallas and east for Texarkana. Pretty sensible. I could see Little Rock being signed instead of Texarkana, but Texarkana I think is okay. So next we enter US-271 still, and then Paris is signed. And there is no secondary just because there's not really that many towns through here. And then here we are in Paris. We are going to be concurrent with Loop 286 as we travel on North 271 here. We meet US 82, signed east for Clarksville and Pine Mill Road. And this is Tamales Mexican restaurant. If you love Tex-Mex like me, you'll love this place. There's not that many of them left. Their locations are being closed left and right. The Abilene one just recently shut down. So if you haven't tried this restaurant yet, I recommend giving it a try. The food is excellent here. And as we leave Loop 286, 271 is signed for Hugo. It is a city in Oklahoma, and I think is probably the correct choice. Now as we leave the loop and beyond 271 proper, it is the Sergeant J.M. Hoskins Memorial Highway. And we have a mileage sign before we enter Oklahoma. We have Powder to Lee, Texas 2, Hugo, Oklahoma 17. It's perfectly sensible. And now we are crossing the Red River into Oklahoma. It's a pretty nice view of the Red River. And as we go through Oklahoma, we will definitely be seeing a lot of nice scenery. We have our Welcome to Oklahoma sign. And then the sign we get once we enter Oklahoma is Hugo 8 and Antlers 28. So Antlers becomes the next control city, which is sensible. So here we are meeting with US 70. 70 is signed east for Idabel. West 70 and North 271 are signed for Antlers. The 271 shield over here is signed for Hugo, but I imagine that's business 271. I'm not sure why it's greened out, but that's what we got. And we also got this 2 Turnpike sign up here. And now as US 70 and 271 split off, it is signed for Durant and Antlers. Durant because of US 70, and this is the start of the Indian Nation Turnpike. It is signed for Antlers and Tulsa. It is pretty cool to see a Tulsa sign all the way here in South Oklahoma. And as we are on the 70 and 271 concurrency, it is signed for Antlers and Durant, just like before. Durant and Antlers coming up when 70 and 271 split. Now in Antlers, we have Wilburton and Poto signed. Poto is an interesting choice because it is all the way in East Oklahoma. It's roughly like 90 miles to get to, and it's quite a swing for a control city on the U.S. highway, but I think I agree with it. There's not really a whole lot in between, and yeah, I think it's a good choice. However, it doesn't hold up because we have Wilburton for one of these state highways that splits off, and then Tallahena is now our next control city. So not really crazy for that. Be a fine secondary, but don't really love that. However, next mileage sign we do see Poto, 60 miles. And I included this shot here because, I mean, this is a really nice shot, and you see a lot of scenery like this in eastern Oklahoma, and I really think, like, it's pretty this road's pretty slept on, and it's a pretty cool scene driving on this road. So we meet up with US-59 here in Poto. It is signed for Sallisaw and Fort Smith. Definitely correct control city there. And then once US-59 and 271 split, US-271 is still signed for Fort Smith, so I agree with that. And now we enter Arkansas, the natural state. Buckle up for safety. So US-271 splits off of Interstate 540. 540 spawns just after we cross the border. So this is exit 14 where you would get off for US-271. And here is the end of US-271. At this stoplight, you are intersecting with US-71 Business, both north and south. And US-71 Business North will take you to downtown Fort Smith. Okay. So now let's talk about US-271 southbound. So here is where we pick back up. We have the stoplight from northbound right here, and we see a South 271 shield right here. For State Highway 255, we have Junction I-540, and 271 is signed for Poto, Oklahoma. I think that is a great choice. However, once we meet 540, it is now signed for Spiro, Oklahoma, which I am not crazy for either, just because, like, I'm not a huge fan of switching the control cities. Like, I don't know, I think they should have just stuck with Poto. I mean, there's plenty of room to ride it here, so I think that would have been okay. So now that we leave 540, it ends at the Oklahoma state line, which I don't know if that's true, just because there is a little bit of it on Google Maps that goes just past it, but I don't know, not the expert. So Poto is the control city in Oklahoma because Spiro is not long after we cross the border. And then Poto is on the mileage sign, so very well done. And just like before, we are now going to be switching to Tallahena, which again, I'm not crazy for. It's a sensible secondary, but I don't really agree with it being the primary. And as we approach Tallahena, we see Tallahena 8 and Antlers 69, so Antlers is the control city beyond it. That is correct. And once we get to Antlers, the next city sign is Hugo. This is the correct choice as well. And then as we are concurrent with US-70 and 271 again, we have Idabel and Paris, Texas. Definitely the correct control cities here. And then as we are about to leave the state of Oklahoma, we have State Line 10 and Paris 25. These are correct. It's kind of interesting because I don't see State Line signed all that much, so I think that is interesting quirk. So cross the Red River again, and we enter Texas. in Texas, we get a Milo sign. We have Power Elite and Paris. Definitely correct here. And this is a little bit of a weird sign, but 271 is going to be going on the left here and is not going to be going in this clover leaf. But you can see the sign for Mount Pleasant here. And then here in Mount Pleasant is the sign for Pittsburgh. Fairly sensible choice. And then I ended up skipping the Gilmer because I imagine like Gilmer was probably used. I couldn't find a Gilmer sign in Pittsburgh, but I imagine that's probably what would have been signed. And here we have Gladewater and Tyler because State Highway 155 is the faster way to Tyler, so Gladewater here works. And then here we have Gladewater again, and then we have Tyler and Kilgore as our cities. Perfectly sensible. And this is a sign on I-20 West. 271 is in fact signed for Tyler after Gladewater. And this is probably our best view of downtown Tyler as we approach 271's end. And here we are at the original intersection where 271 started, and this is where now will end. Not really much fanfare, it's just kind of just looks like any old intersection, so that will be the end of this highway. And my final verdict on what the cities to be signed will be North, Gladewater, Gilmer, Pittsburgh, Mount Pleasant because you meet I-30, Paris after that. It's a pretty big city and like bigger than a lot of stuff down the road. And Hugo, Antlers, I'd say Poto. I wouldn't really bother signing Talihina so much. And after Poto, I'd say Fort Smith. And then southbound, I'd say Poto, skip Spiro, and then Antlers, Hugo, Paris, Mount Pleasant, Pittsburgh, Gilmer, Gladewater because of the 155 split, and then Tyler. Alright, thank you all for watching. I implore you to like and subscribe and comment below for more road requests. I don't have much lined up currently, but I may work on a I-635 video or maybe a 20. Depends on, just which one's more up my alley to start next. But please leave below some road requests, and I will be glad to cover those roads sometime in the future. So thanks, and hope y'all enjoyed.